You know, usually when we do a deep dive into renewable energy sources, we are looking at these massive infrastructure projects, giant solar farms or offshore wind, that kind of thing. But today, the sources we are looking at are painting a picture of something much smaller, but arguably way more complex.
Oh, it is much smaller. We are looking at a single residential property in rural Langlade County, Wisconsin. But to just call it a house is almost an insult.
Right. The documents refer to it as Leonardo Maritime Aeronautics.
Yeah.
And looking at the specs, if you're listening at home, this is not just a guy with a backup generator. It looks more like a closed-loop life support system for a Mars colony.
Yeah, that is actually the perfect way to frame it. I mean, the mission here isn't just keeping the lights on. It is about synthesizing three usually separate worlds. You have aerospace engineering, biological cultivation, and government defense contracting, all under one roof.
So let us peel back the layers here for everyone, starting with the hard tech. I am looking at the power generation setup, and I see solar, which is standard, but then I see Aramine bladeless wind turbines. Now, I have seen wind turbines, and they always have giant blades. How do you have a bladeless one?
It is really cool tech. Imagine the spoiler on a race car. It creates downforce by manipulating air pressure, right?
Okay, yeah.
So these Aramine units sit on the roof, completely stationary, no moving external parts, and they use that exact same aerodynamic principle to capture low-pressure airflow.
So there are no giant spinning blades chopping up the air?
None, which means they are totally silent and they do not vibrate. Traditional turbines would literally shake a house apart.
Wow.
Yeah, these let you generate wind power at night right on your roof without waking the neighbors.
Okay, so we are generating power 24/7. But the part that really jumped out at me in the research was the storage. Because usually going off-grid just means you buy a bunch of batteries.
No.
This system seems to think batteries are
insufficient. Well, batteries have a major weakness. They really hate burst energy. If you need to turn on a massive industrial pump instantly, that sudden spike heats up and degrades a chemical battery.
I see.
So this system uses a hierarchy. You have your standard LFP, lithium iron phosphate batteries, for the steady baseload flow, sure. But for those big spikes, they use a kinetic flywheel.
I looked this up. It is a carbon fiber rotor spinning at 40,000 RPM inside a vacuum.
It is basically a mechanical battery. It spins up, holds that kinetic energy, and when a heavy load hits, it dumps that energy in milliseconds. It completely protects the chemical batteries.
And then there is the third tier, the hydrogen. But they are not using those scary high-pressure gas tanks, right?
No, and this is the big takeaway for anyone following energy tech. Metal organic frameworks, or MOFs, think of them as a solid-state sponge.
Like an actual sponge.
Essentially, yeah. It is a lattice structure that traps hydrogen molecules inside the material itself in these spiral cartridges. You do not need to compress the gas to dangerous pressures. It is stable, it's dense, and it just sits right there in the system.
Okay. But here's the pivot point in the research that absolutely blew my mind. Usually, making hydrogen and running engines creates heat. And usually, that heat is just waste. We vent it out.
Right. Efficiency usually dies as heat.
But here, that heat is the bridge to the biological side.
Exactly. They capture the thermal energy from the PEM electrolyzer and the engines. They pipe that heat right into the basement to maintain a tropical environment in the middle of a Wisconsin winter.
Just to keep a tank of walleye and yellow perch at a perfect 72 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit.
And it is not just fish. There is a direct connection to algae. Spirulina. It is a superfood algae. The fish produce waste, which is ammonia. Bacteria convert that to nitrates.
And then the nitrates feed the spirulina.
You got it. The waste heat keeps the algae at a cozy 30 to 35 degrees Celsius.
And then this is the closed loop part. They harvest the spirulina, which is 60% protein, and feed it back to the fish.
It is an entire ecosystem. They have effectively deleted the concept of waste. The exhaust from the machine becomes fuel for the biology.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate for a second. This sounds incredibly expensive. How does a project like this not bankrupt the owner?
This is the really smart part of the government funding strategy. The owner, Keith Leonard Como, is a Navy veteran with a 100% service-connected disability rating. That allows the entity to register as a service-disabled veteran-owned small business, or SDVOSB.
Which is a specific government classification.
A very powerful one. It opens up USDA REAP grants for rural energy, sure. But more importantly, it puts them in line for Navy SBIR grants.
Because the Department of Defense is actively looking for exactly this kind of technology. Portable, high-density, resilient microgrids for logistics.
Precisely. By building this in his basement, he is essentially prototyping military-grade infrastructure. It turns a hobby into a strategic defense asset. That is how you fund the future.
It is a fascinating rethink of what a home can even be. It is not just a place to sleep anymore. It proves that off-grid doesn't mean low-tech.
Integration is the key. You do not just buy solar panels. You build a system where distinct mechanical, chemical, and biological parts actually work better together.
So here's a final thought to leave you with today. If a residential property can successfully become a power plant, a fuel refinery, and a commercial fish farm all simultaneously, how long until our traditional zoning laws and our total dependence on public utilities realize they're completely obsolete? Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.